Welcome, gang, to the Credible Vegetable Report. I'm here with my friend Tommy Wilkins from Dallas, Texas now,
Dallas,
right?
Texas now.
Well, usually my good friend and partner Matt Mandel is with us, but he's found himself, Tommy, over, I think maybe a couple of Irish beers may be in the mix for him, but he's tromping around Europe, and
Someone's got to do it.
somebody's got to do that, and somebody's got to do this, and I really appreciate you coming in today, right?
Thank you for letting me be here.
A man with not only current experience but a lot of historical experience. Spent a few days on the well, hell, you spent days at the farm, at the desk, and
49 years of muddling around this industry a little bit.
Is it 49?
Be in a few weeks.
Wow. How did you start out?
I followed my father into the business all the way through high school and college. I was a produce manager for supermarkets in West Texas. Graduated college, ended up in California working in the Visalia, Fresno area, a little bit of time in Oxnard. I was down on the Los Angeles market for a few years, and United came and got me in Lubbock, Texas, and asked me to help them build their procurement model and a warehouse, self-distribution. And I guess history will show we took that to the Albertsons buyout.
Yeah.
At that point, I moved the next 9 years down to McAllen, and have spent the last 9 years working in the Valley. Grandkids came along, and Horton Fruit gave me the opportunity to get back closer to family and grandkids and opened up a distribution center in Dallas, Texas. Very fortunate for that.
Oh, good. Well, near and dear to my heart, Dallas. I know it's a great spot. So, West Texas boy, Dallas ain't too far. So
no, it's not. I enjoyed my time in McAllen. Obviously, we were involved with a lot of things at TIPA. Fortunate to become chairman of the board this year. Texas
that's right. You're
Produce Association. The work that's done, the work we've all done with Viva Fresh has been just a blessing. Coming off the heels of Houston, what a great show that was. So, looking forward to seeing the industry evolve. Lots of opportunities all around the country.
Well, like I say, it's great to have you here. And it's also, we're not in Dallas. We're in our nation's capital. Here in beautiful D.C. with IFPA, making our way up the hill. And I understand that you made a trip up there early this morning. Is that right?
Well, we really, yesterday we spent, there was, I think, 20 some odd of us that hit the hill yesterday on the House side.
Uh-huh.
I believe we had somewhere between 20 and 30 meetings. They're still trying to gather all the info from everybody we did. But I was with a group that we had 6 meetings with House members yesterday. We had several of the actual House members there, a lot of the staff. But we were really talking about the importance of the Farm Bill,
right,
labor, and water, and all the things that affects the growers that we represent with TIPA, and the key components of that. Monica De La Cruz is a congressman out of the McAllen region, and she had a get-together this morning that we got to sit down with G.T. Thompson that just put the House version of the Farm Bill up on the table. We got to hear from him.
Right.
Jody Arrington, a lot of the leadership from around the Mark Green, chairman of Homeland Security, and just a magnificent menu of people that maybe gives us a little more realistic picture of what's going on up on the Hill, away from what we read or hear about on media portions.
But now you had a special meeting this morning, right?
This was Monica De La Cruz.
Okay, that's Monica De La Cruz's meeting this morning.
She had a meeting where she brought together about 15 of the key leaders in different capacities and gave us really where she's working with them as a freshman coming in key components, and how she's working for South Texas and really spearheading the water movement with the treaty, I believe in 1944, that we're trying to get Mexico to honor that treaty and share some water.
Yeah, and Ed and I have talked, we've done a couple of interviews, for the Fresh Cred, and water's been a key topic in several of them. And what's your feel? What's the perspective? I mean, coming out of the meeting today, I mean, where are we going to go with that?
Well, a lot of getting help this year is going to come from the fact: do we get some rain in August that we could then, enforce the dispatch to the Rio Grande?
Okay.
If we don't get that water to literally enforce them to share, it's a little scary.
I think it's a lot scary. I mean, and maybe, there's probably a lot of people that don't know. I mean, it's South Texas. You're very aware of it. But, the situation in South Texas it's dangerous as it relates to farmers and crops and the ability to plan and plant anything. But it's getting dangerous at a consumer level, at a human level, right? I mean,
well, we're currently at a level now where a lot of crops cannot be insured just because of the low level of water. And so if you're a farmer that is going to gamble like he does every day anyway, but without any insurance, we're going to see reduced production come out of this at best.
Right. Well, and so in your speculation, do you foresee farms reducing what they're going to plant this next?
100%.
100%.
100%. There's no way barring a hurricane or water coming out of this to change it any bit this year. But, the odds of Mother Nature helping us immediately is a stretch.
And when does celery have to go in the ground to be ready for Thanksgiving?
They're 120 days out normally. So, August may be too late if we count on those rainfalls out of New Mexico helping us, or a hurricane, and a farmer can't count on Mother Nature benefiting us. They tend to be the opposite.
Yeah, you can't put a crop in the ground.
Right.
So, yeah, that it definitely. I mean, the treaty with Mexico and getting the release and everything. Optimistic that there's something comes through on that, but I think that from a preparation standpoint, I think that we're going to be looking at definitely less production out of South Texas for that fall deal, based on everybody I've talked to. Those items that are key for Thanksgiving. I think that we're potentially seeing some shortages.
I think cabbage was mentioned that if you've got to pick and choose, you're going to pick what would be best to put in. I'm hearing lower numbers on cabbage.
Yeah, cabbage.
And celery could be impacted for Thanksgiving. So, people don't realize that things that are happening today are going to impact Thanksgiving, but that's the way.
That's the way it works, right?
That's the way it is.
Well, look, I want to pivot off into something else that is, was talked about here. Just kind of touch base a little bit on it, and that's there's some stuff going on in Europe on sustainability, right? I mean, sustainability has been a thing, and it's certainly relevant to all of us. I mean, you can argue about whether we're getting rainfall or not getting rainfall because of global warming and things like that. Not really the point. The point is there's definitely things being done that I think we all can agree are good in terms of recyclability, reusables, things like that. I think. But what's going on in Europe? They've just passed, or they're looking to get rid of single-use plastics completely. I believe in 2030 for non-processed produce. And I don't know. What do you? I mean, impact-wise.
Well, I think the American people have to be more aware of what's going on around the world, because it could be a forecast of what we're going to battle.
Well, I think it absolutely is. I think
so. To learn the pitfalls and the successes out of some things that are happening globally is something that we've got to get better at, and certainly that conversation over there, and a little bit of moderation maybe is what we're hoping for. A little common sense, and how do we improve what we're doing, but where the plastics are going and how that impacts everything we do packaging wise or taking home. And we've seen with the pandemic some various swings in that. But I think in America we've got to pay attention to what's going on in Europe and see that we're going to be there one day.
Well, and so I'm having a conversation with another South Texas boy, and Aaron Fox. In fact, you were there. We all were having this conversation, and so we're all kind of on board, right? But then there's these concurrent forces that don't seem to help, right? I mean, typically governments are great about passing these laws and maybe not understanding the effects, but in Aaron's case, they've got a what used to be a single-use plastic that is recyclable, but the laws won't let them.
Won't let them do it.
They won't let them mark it as recyclable because there's others in the category that are not, and it's just like, how do we? Some things it just seems like illogical, right? And how do you want us to action? We've got to come up with solutions, but then the solutions are met with, I don't know.
I heard Kathy say a couple of times this week that we have to educate before we regulate, and
that's a good line.
I thought it was very powerful because I think any mistakes we make in this industry, it's because we're not educated.
Yeah.
And the more we can get back to the dirt and understanding how to grow the product, how to harvest the product, how to package the product before we even get to the increase in the consumption there's all of these play key roles in what we do.
Well, it's a nice little setup or segue for me into consumption. That's another hot topic here. It's always a hot topic. And, I looked at some data on vegetables, fresh vegetable category, and, since 2000, the per capita consumption has dropped about 6%. I believe it was 146 pounds in 2000, and it's now about 137 pounds per capita. Now, good news is, population has continued to grow, so for us, the demand has continued to grow. But realistically, with all the efforts, with all the things that everybody's doing, you would think you would see per capita at the very worst stay where it's at. But ideally, it makes zero sense as to why we're not seeing the growth. We're a nation that over 600,000 people die every year of heart disease. And if you look at the diseases that are preventable, I think it's like, I don't know, people die of 6 in 10 of diseases, statistically what that number is. But see, there's a lot of stuff we can prevent by changing our lifestyle, by changing our health and doing some things. 1 in 10 consumers eat the recommended. The recommended's 5 stinking servings a day, and they're pretty small servings. It's not like it's huge. I think it was mentioned something like 400 grams, something like that was what they had said is what you have to eat. And we're not doing 1 in 10, and I don't know. You've got some experience in this.
The conversation that you hear constantly is the impact of inflation. Okay, we've certainly seen inflation impact everything we're doing, the cost of doing things. But, I think it comes down to the easy button. It's just easier to not eat healthy.
Yeah.
There are a lot of bad options out there. And, we started Viva Fresh, that if we could increase the consumption of what we grow, it's good medicine.
Yeah.
And our walk has proven that even just a slight uptick in consumption could save, the spend on Medicare and medical dollars. But it all comes down to, just if we could just, there's no reason we're not increasing production of what we grow. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
We've seen variety improvements across the table. I started in the business back when navel oranges were not year-round, when table grapes, you didn't get good grapes year-round. Strawberries weren't available year-round. That hurdle has been eliminated by the global influence of production. But we still don't see the uptick in consumption, and that's something I think that we've got to continue to pound into these young families of just what it would be if we could get a slight uptick in consumption to the health of America.
Gotcha. Well, in IFPA, here at this event, they put together a group of leaders, with a focus on doubling consumption. I guess, Tommy, I come back to it as sometimes we make things a bit more complicated than they have to be, and maybe it's because my mind's pretty simple, and so, but realistically, you talked about it's easier, I think is what you said, and yeah, the inflation, but the reality of it is I think that one, yeah, it needs to be, we have to focus on two things, the real two places, and that is taste, and that is in simplicity, right? Something to consume easy. You see examples of the success of the Spanish clementines, right? The easy peel fruit. If you're crying out loud, why was that successful? A, they always tasted good. B, boom, 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 you're eating it, no problem. I mean, super quick. You didn't have to have a huge marketing campaign. All you had to do is just get that in somebody's hand, get that in kids' hands. You had a consumer immediately in that. And when you get into my space, especially the veg side of the business, it does. I mean, a cucumber, I like the taste of cucumbers, but usually it has to be modified, typically, or a bell pepper. Some people like to eat raw bell peppers, but that's not really, most of that stuff has to go another step, right? Something else has to be done to it. And that becomes, I think, a big challenge for us, is making sure that we're producing stuff that tastes great, but somehow we got to figure out how to make it easier.
And it could be as easy as continuing the education on menus. There's a lot of things, a lot of people don't understand what to do with it, or how to incorporate it into a meal, or how to prepare it and what it goes with. And I think the more we can do on education to teach people how to utilize what we're doing and how diverse some of these items are, and you incorporate fish into mango salsa,
Yeah.
or you just the different dynamics to increase putting the opportunity for fruits and vegetables on a plate. There should be vegetables on every plate.
Well, and it goes back to what you said about on the farming side, but I mean, education, I think, I've learned that over the last couple of days through the interviews I've done. One thing that, and for us, for this show, as we're trying to really drive on consumption is, I'm going to focus on trying to figure out that education, right? Educating, meaning, not so much the nutritional value, but how do you cook this stuff? How do you make it taste good? How what are the ways that we can simplify cooking and make stuff taste good?
Air fryers have become a factor the past few years.
Yep.
I don't know that we've said what we can do with vegetables.
What can we cook in a stinking air fryer?
That is a good deal. And, honestly, it shouldn't be that difficult, but it maybe is sometimes, because it's easier to go do something else. But I think as the consumer evolves and changes, we've got to change with them.
Yep.
But we've got to educate them the opportunities of the vegetables that are out there every day.
I'll tell you right now, before we jump on to the next thing, you would be hard-pressed to find anybody that did not like bell peppers, onions, sauteed in a pan with olive oil and some salt.
Bar none.
I'm telling you right now. And it's super simple, super quick, and very few people would turn their nose up at that. So there's plenty of things but maybe the air fryer. Maybe now I cut it. Now I'm going to try it in the air fryer. I've got one. I'm going to take your hack and see if I can find a place for the air fryer. All right. Well, real quick, one thing that is crucial to consumption, and that is production. We can have all the demand in the world, but if we can't get it out of the ground, we can't get it to market, doesn't matter, right? Or if we got guys, so labor's an issue. A lot of talk around the labor fix being with AI or with technology, that kind of thing, which I think very well is going to have to be a solution, but that's not happening tomorrow.
It's a piece.
It's a piece, and it's somewhere a long-term deal. I think you had some meetings and conversations on labor. Is that right?
Up on the hill yesterday, one of the things we discussed was the H-2A labor, and although that has done a lot of good things. There's some hurdles in it that make it difficult. Some of the discussion is that there's not a cap on what the labor per hour would be, so it's very difficult for a farmer to forecast his production cost if he doesn't know what labor's going to cost.
Right.
Whether he can have the labor supply at the time that the crop comes off that's been something that they worry about. Some of the restrictions we have is we certainly need to protect the domestic workforce, but in the H2A application process, it's slim to none domestic application for harvesting of fruits and vegetables. And
well, I think you had a statistic. So let's be clear, right? So applications to work in the farming business.
One particular company had over 1,000 applications, and there was one domestic application out of 1,121.
So that's 1,000 to 1 U.S. workers going for this particular company's.
It was not American worker. It was one American worker went for what 1,121 foreign workers went for.
Yeah, that's what I get. Yeah. So
it's mind blowing.
And that's the thing, messaging wise, really to the greater population. I think most of us in this business are super aware that the U.S. worker does not really want to do this work, period.
And as we introduce AI into the harvesting situation, we're raising. It's not just going out and hoeing. It's not just going out and harvesting. The intellect level of that worker is increasing
right.
as AI does some automation to run these tools. And I heard yesterday up on the hill, watermelons is one of the few things AI can't help. It's got to be handpicked.
Well, squash right now is in that same
grapefruit. You don't pick them all at one time. So a lot of the items that in the veg deal that you and I are involved with each and every day, it takes hands to harvest that crop, and we're struggling to get those hands to do that.
Yeah. No, indeed, and again, that's been a big conversation here, both on the labor front, but also the technology side of the business. I mean, an interesting statistic, before we get off this topic, but just to give everybody kind of a sense of it, the average farmer is unable to hire 20% of the labor they need, meaning they're operating at an 80% efficiency, a capacity level with their labor force. You got no choice. You either don't plant, so you drop your production prior down to what you think your labor is going to be, or you spend the money to plant, you spend the money on getting it, and you leave that much in the field. Those are your two choices.
We heard yesterday there was close to 500,000 farms lost in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And, if we don't change that trend, we're going to become insecure. We're going to become insecure in our food. And, we've talked about water. I think labor is probably the key hurdle that we have to making sure that we have food security.
But the labor, it runs here in Mexico. I read a report, Fresh Plaza, this last week, talking about the grape business and the challenges on what's coming across because they don't have enough people to harvest the grapes. And so you've seen, a combination of things, less production getting out of the field. Some of the production that they are getting, the grape sizing is not correct, so you're getting the less quality or stuff that the labor thing is certainly big here. Like you say, it's affecting but it's huge in Mexico too.
Well, I think it's a fallacy that everybody thinks there's unlimited labor in Mexico. They're battling a lot of the same problems that we are, both water and labor. And, no matter where the production comes from, to increase this consumption, labor is a major factor.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, we've got to get some resolution to it. All right. Well, look, let's that's kind of the hot takes or hot topics from primarily here from IFPA. All this stuff we covered here. Let's get into what we're near and dear to and what we wake up every day thinking about. And uh, let's talk about some squash. I mean, you can kind of give us a good perspective on what's going on in Texas, and how the crops are there. With all the weather. Just curious to see how that's been for you guys.
We're seeing the local Texas crop primarily out of the Uvalde Pearsall area, and we've got some production out of West Texas that's going on. And because of the issues around the world, we're seeing a gray squash market in the $10 to $14 range. And we're seeing yellow and zucchini holding above 20, even as we see more and more domestic production, summer production come on as Mexico has fell off and southeast and Texas and a lot of areas come into play. But we're seeing well above average markets on squash this week over last year.
Yeah, and honestly, back west where we're at, our stuff coming out of the Baja, we're actually seeing prices slightly higher than that. The gray market's been probably closer to 16, 18 where we're at. Zook is still above 30, and a lot of the places where we are. Yellow has come down. Not that it's tremendous amount of availability, but it's gotten, I guess, enough. Our demand's dropped off, enough to meet up with the supply. But what I'm curious about is, what's your take on next week and the next couple of weeks? These are very unusually high, right, for squash prices. Do you think that's going to maintain?
We have seen in Texas the past 4 weeks ungodly torrential weather.
Yeah.
We've seen more tornadoes than we've seen more wind events. We've had, I believe, a Hurricane 2 came in through Houston. We've seen power out all over the deals. Unless Mother Nature calms down a little bit, I think we're going to see a good veg market going into the 4th of July.
Yeah, and we look at the produce IQ data each week, and kind of look at the trends. And squash all last year trended from this point forward up, and if we stay on trend, yeah, these prices look like they're going to stay here and very likely continue to climb. And if the hurricane predictions live up to anything half of what they think they're going to be, come July, August, that's going to start to affect everything over there.
We heard yesterday that there's very possibility that there'll be 4 named storms, big storms in the Gulf this year.
And what somebody was telling me, the water temperature is significantly higher.
The water temperature is at a level that it was when Katrina hit.
Wow.
And that's scary.
That is very scary for sure. I know South Texas needs the rain, but they don't need the wind. They just need the rain. If we could just get the rain.
But you go back to the markets, and obviously we're conscious of inflation and what prices do to cut down on consumption. But honestly, these markets need to hold with the additional costs that these growers are going through. It feels good that a grower can get a market these days because they need it.
Every one of them absolutely do. And next market up, I don't think we're growing cucumbers too much in Texas, but it's definitely there's people eating it there. What are you seeing on the cucumber market? What's going on there?
It's going to hold steady. We're seeing demand through Mexico, even to the East Coast today, that is strong.
Yeah.
And until the Southeast can produce enough to wean that a little bit, I think we're going to see the cucumber market stay steady.
Yeah. And yeah, all indications, again, that's another one right now. We're pretty much on trend. The squash is kind of an outlier. It's on the upside, but the cucumbers on trend, what they've done last year. And yeah, that super selects, we're looking at 2022 right now, and those selects are 18.
Talk about how the industry changes. We've seen the large market hold $16 to $20.
Isn't that crazy, right?
And, I battled with why, what's changed from, and it's sushi. The sushi, what they use for the rolls is totally driving the large market.
Wow. that's a dot I haven't connected.
Yeah.
So the sushi market is having an influence
It's
on the
held
market.
the large
Help it
market.
hold, yeah.
That's a consumer we didn't have 5
That's
years
true.
ago.
Yeah. Interesting fact there, or anecdote.
A fun fact.
A fun fact, anecdote, whatever you want to call it. But either way, that's interesting. And eat more sushi, guys. Keep it up. We need to move those
The
large
cucumber rolls.
Yeah, cucumber rolls, exactly. But also, they'll take a look at the bell pepper deal. It's been quite high compared to it's one that is way outside of where the trend was at last year.
Another one that AI can't help. Most bell peppers hand-picked. So, what Texas production on bell peppers comes in late August, but are they going to be able to put any in with the water and the labor issues? We don't know.
Now, where are they doing bell pepper, green bells in Texas?
Down by Uvalde.
Uvalde does some green bells? Okay.
They do some down there, and, you got concerns about we're all fighting for where you're going to put that water.
Yeah.
Okay. But we've seen as Mexico has wound down, we've seen significant rains in the southeast on bells, and that production is not ramped up to the levels to affect the market. California seems to be a few weeks behind last year, and so we're seeing, extra large pepper up around $20-22,
right,
and holding.
Yeah, no, that market has definitely held in. I mean, looking back the same time last year, taking a look at the reports, I mean, this thing was a $10, $11 market, and that was on the good stuff.
Yeah.
And now we're doubling that in price, and that's a lot of production. I think that weather in the southeast, way more than they thought it was going to, whether it's bloom drop, whatever. I talked to Dustin Blank a few weeks back, and their expectations were things to ramp up, and I don't think that ramp showed up. Hasn't yet.
You get wind that blows off blooms, you get the swings in temperature and the amount of rain, what we're seeing. Mother Nature's been pretty tough so far.
Yeah. Last but not least, what are you seeing on the Roma market, tomatoes in general, or Romas?
What a roller coaster Romas have been this year. We've seen the highest prices that I recall, October, November, December, January, unheard of deals. And just about the time you think you're going to hold in that $20 range, we'll slip down to the $8 to $10 range, which we were at last week. But we've seen that thing uptick to a minimum of 12, with conversations of 14, 16s, and continue to see, I think the internal use in Mexico is holding the market up, and the domestic demand is strong, and it appears to be what is historically not a teen market on Romas. We're there today.
Yeah, I agree. We're there, and I don't see any signs of that backing up. I don't see anything getting crazy. I don't see the north of 20s, but I think we could get into that $14, $16 range for a couple of weeks.
The southeast, Tennessee and Florida and Georgia seem to be affecting the round market a little bit more, but not the Roma market a little bit. The Roma markets continue to stay strong.
Staying strong. Well, that's good stuff, my friend, and all good info, and really appreciate it. Thanks, Tommy.
I applaud IPA for bringing the industry together. A combined voice does educate both the people on the Hill, but stuff like this, and I appreciate to be offered part of the conversation.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it, and we definitely want to thank IFPA, thank Tommy Wilkinson here with us, Horton Fruit Company for sure. Give a shout out to Jackson out there and his group. Actually, a wonderful bunch of guys for sure. Mike Wise kind of runs that deal, I believe, and
good team up
just a good family, good folks for sure. You guys, as always, feedback, good or bad, we appreciate it. Please follow us, like us, don't like us. I don't know really what you don't like us. Maybe you can do that privately. But anyway, check us out on social media. We're on all the platforms. We're on all the podcast forms. And thanks, guys, for listening. We'll see you soon. See you next week. Bye.